How you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Logbox. Today we're looking at Astonishing Tales number 25, 25 cents. This is Deathlok the Demolisher. Yes, this is the first appearance of Deathlok. And I wanted to do this comic because, again, I'm watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. right now, and Michael Collins, the Deathlok, is a backup character in that show. So this is the first appearance of Deathlok. That's a pretty cool cover. This Astonishing Tales, I showed some Kazar, I showed Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is like every issue is different. I guess that's not an anthology, but different. Every issue is a different character. Marvel at the time was doing a lot of these tryout books, meaning they'd set up the dress and everything like that, and have the infrastructure already out for a new comic, and then when interest started to wane in one character, they would just jump to the next character without having to start up all the rigmarole of a new comic. So, and they did that a lot in the 70s. Astonishing Tales, Marvel Tales, Marvel Premiere, Marvel Spotlight, things like that. So they started out with Ant-Man and the Wasp. That didn't do too well. Then they went to Kazar. Then they went to the Living Colossus, and now they're Deathlok. Deathlok is one of the only ones with any staying power. As you can see, he made it onto a TV show. Nobody's seen the Colossus TV show as far as I know. And that doesn't look like Kevin Feige's going to be breaking that out in the Marvel Universe anytime soon. So, as you can see, this cover is by Rich Buckler and Klaus Janson. And I'll talk about them when I open up the comic. This is in pretty damn good shape. And this is like one of my favorite and one of the greatest comic book ads of all time. I've talked about this too many times to go over it again. But the Charles Atlas, the skinny kid gets his sand kicked in his face. I just love that. I love that so much. So this is issue 25, 1974. And this is cover conceived, plotted, and drawn by Rich Buckler, scripted by Doug Mensch. And I've been saying his name wrong. I've been saying Monick for my entire life. But I've been listening to Chuck Dixon interviews, and he talked about Doug Mensch. So he worked with the guy. I'll take his word for it. That's how you pronounce his name. Colored by Glennis Wynn. Lettered by A. Kowacki, who I know nothing about, and Roy Thomas. I've talked about Roy Thomas all the time. So Roy Thomas is the editor-in-chief at this point in Marvel's history. He took over after Stan Lee left. Stan Lee hired him as like a 16-year-old kid in the 60s. 10 years later or so, he's now in charge of Marvel Comics. You can't beat that for promotions. And I just don't think he had the strength and personality to make the entire Marvel company a cohesive line like Jim Shooter did. But here we go. This is A Cold Night's Frenzy. And there we go. So now we'll go into the story of Deathlok. So it starts out in media res. The story already existed. Everything here in blue is the computer. So Deathlok, he looks like Victor Stone's Cyborg, and believe it or not, his original name was Cyborg before he came out. He was called Cyborg, and then they thought the name was bad. I don't know what Deathlok means or whatever. I mean, it's just been around my whole life, so I just accept it. But when you think about it, what does Deathlok mean? So, but it actually means he locks on target and you're getting death. So he started out, you'll see. But anything in blue is the computer. Anything is yellow is the human. So there's a conflict. The computer wants to do things cold, efficiently, and emotionless. And at first, the human mind was subservient. And then the human mind slowly builds up strength and takes over. So I'm leading you in a direction. You'll see. So he's chasing this guy. Please don't. He's chasing him, and he's just mindlessly going after him like a robot. And going through the subway. Just avoiding everybody. I made it. I'm safe. And all of a sudden the gun comes out, and managed in the majors with Statomatic Baseball. I remember this. This was not too many people I knew that were into this, but the people who were into this were very into it. It was like you use all the stats in baseball. It was and you make like a game, and it was fantasy baseball and fantasy football decades before fantasy football. This was the precursor to fantasy baseball, fantasy football. So you every year you got books of stats, and then you got like either cards or chits that represented the actual players, and you use them to make games based on actual real world stats. At the time, I was not interested in it, but now I'm looking at it, I'm like, that is pretty cool. So it's an actual physical version of fantasy baseball, fantasy football. So let's get back to him. So the gun's in the guy's face. He's like, no, please, I'm begging of you, I'm begging. And then blam, he just shoots him. And it says, your voice, you're not human, you're a robot, an android. I love that. His whole body, his heart is just roasted out of his body with a laser, but he still talks. A cyborg with no feelings, no remorse. Just an inhuman machine. I pity you. His last words as he dies. So now you see how it's been a while since I actually talked about like the mechanics of an actual comic. This is called a panel. The white in between the panels is called the gutter. And you see how the panel borders are clipped off. That indicates usually a change in time. So now we're going to the past. So this is Luther Manning. Luther Manning was killed in the wars. What does it say? In case you're not aware of it, mister, there's been a war on since 1983. So this is set in an alternate future. And I know in a few videos I always said I can't stand all of these alternate time travel takes, stuff like that. And yes, I can. But back in 1974, that was a novel concept that wasn't just overused. So it was kind of exciting. So here it is 10 years in the future. There's an unwinnable war. And this general is taking the corpses. So he's general, and this is Colonel Luther Manning. And he's ordering all of these military doctors and surgeons to basically make a Frankenstein's monster. So this is what I'm telling you to do. You do it. Look at that face. How the hell did the military get anything done when every colonel and general was a villain? Just like in comic books, every senator is a supervillain. So here they are. They're cutting up the corpse of Luther Manning. They're putting a brain inside They scooped out a skull. They put in cybernetics. They're putting the brain in. Don't ask us where we got these prosthetic arms from. Some genius made them, and there he is. There's Deathlok. He goes, mission complete. So now that was Deathlok recanting his origin, and which is kind of weird because he doesn't know he's Luther Manning at this point. But he fulfilled his contract. Now he's talking to his boss. What does he do next? So it's a little your spider senses should be tingling, because here he is, a general ordered a super soldier, a cyborg soldier to be made. Why is he going out accepting contracts and killing people? Thus there lies the intrigue. So now this guy's giving him his next assignment, and this guy's he's ignoring a guy who's talking to him, and he goes, you pay attention to me. You talk to me, you don't talk to the boss don't talk to machines. And he says, I don't waste time on punk thugs. And then he just bashes him in the face. Remember, he could smash through solid steel girder, stuff like that. So he just murdered that guy. And they even joke on it. It's like, whatever, he demolished his face like it was nothing. Well, he is the demolisher. And his face did get splunch. You don't want to get splunch in your face. Okay? I know my friend Paul loves to get splunch in his face, but, more normal people don't like to get splunch in their face. So here he is demonstrating how strong he is. This is the general, and it's unambiguous in this issue, and I don't remember the next issue well enough to comment if this is the general's wife or if this is Luther Manning's wife. And if it is Luther Manning's wife, they're having they're setting it up that she was cheating on Luther Manning with the general. I may be wrong about that. I apologize. But here, nice little schematic of, brain, circuits, receiver, lenses in his eye, and he could jump over stuff. He has bionic, psionic, whatever you want to call them, not psionic, cybernetic arms, and he has computer chips that he literally sticks them into these like little slats in his back, and that gives him his orders. He's got a laser gun. I like this. The whole bayonet is magnetized and it just sticks to his leg, and he's strong enough to pull it off. And look, this guy's pulling a gun on him, and he just throws this bayonet through the body. That's how strong he is. So he's just this efficient killing machine. So here's where you see like the brain and the computer are developing odds. He smashes through the wall. He goes, The penetration of the wall accomplished elapsed time is 1.4 seconds. Walking through the door would have required 0.16 seconds less. He goes, so sue me. Maybe I felt like showing off, or maybe I just felt like kicking a hole in the wall. He goes, consciousness, inimical to start, blow it out your transistorized ear. So here he is. The brain is waking up. And he goes in, and where is he? He's not going to his target. He's coming to the general. So what's going on? Why are you here? And now the general hits a button and his brain gets anesthesia. So they have like emergency anesthesia. Here's Stanley's soapbox. This is Insider News, and they're talking about Stan's all excited. He's got his hardcover Origin of Marvel Comics. I have that upstairs. I should break it out. Promoting some Deathlok, Mighty Marvel mini checklist. Now look at these giant size Spider-Man, giant size man thing. Maybe I'll show you guys my giant size man thing one of these days. Put it on OnlyFans, my giant size man thing. Giant size Fantastic Four, Dracula Lives. These were magazines and giant size comics. DC was doing it too with oversized comics at the time, because a lot of newspaper stands were kicking comic book physically off their stands, because for the small price it made more sense to actually put a magazine in that spot rather than a comic book. So they put out oversized, overpriced, not overpriced, but competitive priced for that size comic books to compete with magazines. We all know that it didn't last. Comic book went back to the cheaper format, and then I guess they accommodated the room. But only a couple of years from now there'll be the direct market. So maybe this was a last ditch effort. That's something interesting I should look at. So here is Deathlok going on another mission, just beating the crap out of somebody, and the computers tell him, just shoot him, and he goes, I don't want to just shoot him, I want to beat him up. And he goes, violence futile due to non-human nature of the villain. He's like, non-human? He's a cyborg, he's a lousy cyborg, and he's just freaking out. And now the general's just watching it going, okay, what's going on? He goes, you killed that guy. He goes, what? You should have just shot him. Even the general's starting to realize that something's going on. And then, oh my God, Simon, you're a cyborg. I don't know why she called him Simon. Oh no, the other guy was Simon. He goes, an obvious deduction, my dear Nima. Also, you're last. So the General Simon, he's also a cyborg. I messed that up. I didn't catch that the first time I read the comic, and it's been decades since I read it. So here's Rich Buckler. He was really proud of this character. So this is him selling it to the audience with descriptions and everything like that, an interview. It's pretty cool. You don't really see this stuff. It's kind of interesting to actually see the creator's vision and thought processes. I really do like that. Kung Fu Karate. Oh, buy a record and learn karate, because that's the best way. And now this is interesting. This is really interesting, and I got to look this up. Rich Buckler hired George Perez to be his assistant, and this was drawn by George Perez. So this might be, the very first published Marvel work by George Perez, and it's doing a little goof on Deathlok, on the creative process of writing Deathlok. And this is kind of poignant, because only yesterday did I learn that George Perez was diagnosed with inoperable pancreatic cancer, and the doctors had given him 6 months to a year to live. I panicked and I tweeted that rest in peace, George Perez, until I realized it, until the emotion went out of my system, and then I read the article and saw that he's still alive. And if you've watched my videos, you know how I feel about George Perez. It's part of my childhood. It will be dead in 6 months to 12 months from now, because George Perez is that influential in my life. It's like losing a friend, even though I never met him. I take that back. I met him at a comic book convention, got an autograph. He was very nice. I will cherish that. I always like to look at the names of the people in the letters pages. And this, they're talking about they changing stuff, things don't go on, and don't worry about Tony Isabella. He wrote the Living Colossus. He's doing Ghost Rider, Power Man, Living Mummy, blah 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 blah. At this time, a lot of the Marvel writers were just assigned work, and here, do this. Okay, you're not doing that. Do this. Do this. They were jobbers, I guess is the current term. But this is Rich Buckler, who created this character, and Rich Buckler, he's an interesting guy. He started out as a kid who loved comics, so he started a comic book convention. And I guess that got him to meet people. He showed his art, and next thing you know, he's working. And he worked anywhere. He did Fantastic Four for a couple of years, and he's notably like a comedian. He could copy anybody's style. So when he was doing Fantastic Four, he kind of did like a Jack Kirby kind of a style. And then one thing I like about him is his assistant, George Perez, leapt off of him, and he took over Fantastic Four for a while. So, he went to Defenders. I don't think there's a Marvel comic that Rich Buckler hasn't drawn. And he also drew for DC. He did a lot of covers. Klaus Johnson is a very heavy, very stylized inker. He works with Frank Miller a lot. So I think a lot of this, you don't recognize the classic. Like, I always say that, like, George Harrison is the bar for a rock and roll guitarist. He is like, right in the middle. You compare yourself to George Harrison. Well, in comic books, the George Harrison is Rich Buckler. He's the dark horse. He's the middle line that all comic book artists I compare to. I'm not telling you what to do, but if you get a Rich Buckler to do, you are getting perfectly competent, excellent comic book art. Now, if you could get better than Rich Buckler, oh man, you're hitting it out of the park. If you're getting worse than Rich Buckler, you got to try harder. I don't know if that's complimentary or not. I don't mean it to be a negative thing. I just hold comic book art in such high esteem, so that if you are if you are the basis that everything should be compared to, my standard is high. Let's put it that way. And Rich Buckler unfortunately perished he died from cancer in 2017 after a long battle with cancer. So I don't, we lost another living legend. My friend Mike loves Rich Buckler. He used to get different sketches by Rich Buckler every time he went to conventions. He has like a whole portfolio. Nothing much to say about Death. Oh yes, I forgot my whole premise. So we have a rogue general. He uses his influence to get his pet project created. Super cyborg soldiers. They're created. Then he sells out his creation as a hitman. So he started out as a bad guy, but was he really a bad guy if he had no free will? And now he's getting free will, and the robotic nature of his brain and the programming is forcing him to be kind of a bad guy. And then later on, I think he slowly redeems to become a good guy, and he's going out like killing people for money, but he's pissed off that he doesn't get the money. Then he finds out that he's being manipulated. Then they kind of softened his stance as they went along. But does this sound familiar? This is RoboCop. This is almost literally RoboCop. Instead of being the police, he started out as the army. And then he was used to kill people. The dual nature of his brain took over. You're going to tell me that Frank Miller didn't read this comic, especially when his long-term creative buddy, Klaus Johnson, inked it? So, there you go. I don't know if Rich Buckler ever got any money or credit or compensation for RoboCop, but Deathlok and RoboCop, it is too similar to be a coincidence. So, hope this shit. Oh, and then later on, because this is set in an alternate future, he travels back in time once and meets Spider-Man, blah, blah, blah. But then they make a Deathlok Michael Collins in the Marvel Universe properly, and that's the Deathlok that's in the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So the first Deathlok in this nebulous future, and then Michael Collins is so Luther Manning, whatever. And also, if you ask, I think he just beat out, well, there's Black Panther, Power Man, and Blade, and Deathlok are the 4 first black superheroes. Whatever. There you go. So there you go. That's the story of Deathlok, the Demolisher. It was a pretty cool concept, pretty cool. Good enough to be ripped off into a major movie theater that everybody knows. So thanks a lot. I know I took a couple of days off. I apologize for that. I've just been working on my house. I've been out of work for a couple of weeks. I've just been enjoying my time, my birthday and Thanksgiving, and I just got real lazy. I'm not going to make any excuses. Just enjoying waking up at a normal time. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning for my regular job, and I've been sleeping till 10, and then you just don't want to do anything. I've been doing some construction on my house, so that's mostly done. So I'll get back into the swing of things. I already know what my next video is going to be, and one of my tasks entails reorganizing my comic book room. So I'll put out another stack of comics that I want to check out and showcase. So that'll make daily video back. So thanks a lot. I tried to get 100 videos before my birthday, but that was kind of, I sabotaged myself by not making any videos for a week right before my birthday. So I only got 97. So I'm 3 short. Oh well, what am I going to do? This is still fun for me. Hope you enjoyed this, and thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy day to listen to me ramble on and on and on and on about 40, 50-year-old comics. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.